on the subject of the lessons of eternity, the fanfiction. So this one was very interesting. We got another Celestia fic. We're getting a lot of Cell, and I really like that because I really like Celestia. She's so utterly close to Luna, but Luna is just Luna, and honestly, Cadence is climbing a lot because I really like Cadence too. But Celestia is Celestia has clawed her way up to a few points below Luna. She used to be like 50,000 points below Luna, but she's doing good. She's getting up there. So this was a Celestia fic, and it was a romance, sad fic. To be honest, it should have been categorized as uplifting because this was pretty positive. It wasn't my speed in the sense that I didn't like the way it ended. Not that I didn't like the way it ended. Let me tell you what happened. So Celestia's in her quarters. Her herald comes and tells her that Twilight has come back, and she freaks out. And Twilight comes in, and she gets super mad. Celestia does. So they were a couple over 100 years ago, and something happened, and they broke up. And uh, this guy, the writer of this story, has a lot of interesting canon. I don't know when this one took place. Luna was at least mentioned, though the way she was mentioned irritated me a lot because they just dumped on her, and I was like, of course, because Luna can't have anything. Anyways, yeah, I just have to love Luna the most because she's so stepped on. She's so stepped on by everyone, even the fandom. The only one that like really has given there's only two people, and they were both the top two best best fanfics. It's timeless, and because he gave and it's funny because he gave a lot of props to Celestia, but this dude created Shifting Sands, which is here is the perfect man for Luna, and I'm just like, oh yeah, thank you, that's great. And then the second is Integration, which is like a literal entire fic to building up how insanely powerful Chrysalis is, and then saying, but guess what? Here comes Luna, and then Luna just wipes the floor with her. And I love those two people. They're my heroes. So, anyways, Celestia and Twilight are talking, and they're really vicious to each other, like absurdly vicious to each other. Like, oh, I was talking about their lores real quick. So in this one, Celestia is like 1,700 years old, and it's really weird because she remembers every single day of her life, whereas, like, say in Lost and Found, that's the opposite. Like, Celestia can remember some of the things, but she doesn't really remember things really far back or whatever. Um, it's the one where she's like, do you remember the day of your birth? No? Well, that's what it's like for me. What do you want from me? I'm over 1,000 years old. I've pushed that to 5,000. I don't even know if I want to push that further than 5,000. I don't know what I want Celestia and Luna to be. Anyways, let me get back to this story. So she's 1,700 years old in this story, and they don't say Twilight went to the Crystal Empire to celebrate Cadence and Shining's anniversary. They don't say if Shining's alive. I'd assume not, because it seems like the only one that. But she'd have Cadence. But I guess Cadence is enough in mine is not enough in mine either. She'd have Flurry too. She's not. So maybe that's why I. Okay, anyways, I'm thinking of my own lore. Anyways, um, so like they're ultra vicious to each other. They're giving some really nasty barbs. There's a part where um, Celestia's new student walks in, and like uh, she doesn't know Twilight's there, and she leaves. Like she says some stuff and then she leaves, and Twilight's super pissed, and she's like, she's like, you're sleeping with her then? And Celestia doesn't say anything, and Twilight's like, what does she say? She's like, with how old you are, I'm surprised your heart can still open for someone else. And Celestia's like, that's beneath you, Twilight Sparkle. But she's like really mad. And then Twilight's like, really? Because I thought we were talking about who was beneath. And like Celestia gets like super ultra pissed off and like Royal Canterlot voice booming electricity around her and stuff. Doesn't phase Twilight. So, anyways, Celestia gets the perfect idea, and she's like, "How's Spike?" And Twilight gets devastated. Like she's like, absolutely. She's like, I don't know. She's like, he still hasn't. We still haven't talked or whatever. And Celestia's like, oh, I heard that he went to go hibernate for a century or whatever. And Twilight gets kind of happy, but Celestia gets even happier because she knows she won. And then it gets really sad because Twilight is like, because it's Celestia's fault that they broke up. What happened was Twilight got super reliant on Celestia, and Celestia was like, I don't think we should be intimate anymore or whatever. So Twilight left, and like Celestia's like, I didn't make you leave, and Twilight's like, you basically just completely did. What am I supposed to do when you say you don't want to be around me anymore? And Celestia's like, you just stayed in the castle and stayed with me. She's like, that's bad, really bad. And I've got to agree with Twilight here. I don't like that. I don't. Anyways, Twilight explains. She's like, when I lost my first group of friends, she's like, I took your advice. She's like, it hurt so much, but I took your advice, and I made new friends. And she's like, the second time around, she's like, it was even worse than the first. And she's like, and after that, I knew I never, ever, ever wanted to go through it again. And she's like, I've read all the books. She's like, I've learned everything. She's like, I don't. She's like, I know immortality is a gift that you gave me, but maybe she's like, maybe I don't. Maybe it's not something that I was made for. She's like, maybe you should take it back. So Celestia gets like kind of, not hurt, but she's like concerned because she doesn't want Twilight to be dead, and Celestia kind of gets up and goes up to her, and she's like, you're wrong. She's like, they're kind of talking about stuff or whatever, and she's like, maybe I could, oh, this is where the thing happened, and I was like, oh, of course. Celestia's like, she's like, yeah, Spike is asleep, and my sister isn't the only one who knows, or she's like, I know how to dabble a little bit in dreams, and I'm like, get the frick out of here, Celestia. No, you don't. You are not the dream patroller. That is Luna. You shut your dirty mouth. That is her power. Stop trying to take what's Luna's. Stop. You already took her moon control. I gave that to Luna anyway, so I don't even care. Anyways, she's like, maybe you can talk to Spike, and Twilight gets real happy, and she's like, do you think so? She's like, do you think he'll forgive me or whatever? And Celestia's like, no. She's like, but I think he'll give you a tongue lashing for what you said about wanting to die or whatever. And then Twilight's like a little bit happier, and then she's like, how old is Starshift though? The girl that Celestia's with or whatever. And Celestia's like, Twilight, and Twilight's like, no. She's like, she had an invisibility spell. Like, what is that? And Celestia's like, that's her special talent. It has to do with being able to bend light. And Twilight's like, oh, that's like super interesting. And Celestia's like, she's like, the world's not just books, Twilight. And Twilight's like, so you expect me to face eternity because I can talk to Spike again, and your student has a nice special ability? And Celestia's like, oh no, not eternity. She's like, but how about just tomorrow? And Twilight smiles, and Celestia like is like, come on, and they leave the room because they're gonna go whatchamacallit. And it's like really good. Like, that's a really sweet ending, and like I would have preferred no angle with another whatchamacallit, with another filly, with another whatchamacallit, and Twilight and Celestia obviously to get back together. But it was good. there's a lot of ramifications. I kind of want to talk about the ramifications of the story yesterday because I read. I didn't get a place to put this anywhere, and I wanted to talk about it. The ramifications of biblical creatures, and the ramifications of Twilight Sparkle dying, like, because I was crying way too much on that review. Like, so the issue is with that, with Twilight dying, if it took place, I believe it took place after the princess coronation and before Tirek. Because she said, I've only been like this for about 3 years. No. Princess of Friendship for 3 years? What did she say she was for 3 years? Even if it was 3 years into 6 years, whatever, she'd still, Sombra and stuff would have still came back, and they still would have needed them. They would have still needed the elements and stuff. So the ramifications are, if Twilight dies, like, Equestria falls if the villains still invade and stuff, unless Celestia is really holding back like my story is. The ramifications of this are, would Celestia turn Starshift into an Alicorn as well? Does she love her that much? Is she going to just not and let Starshift die? It's like a lot of questions. There's a why was Spike mad at Twilight? Did Twilight go to the Crystal Kingdom and celebrate with Cadence and Flurry? Because Flurry is a natural born Alicorn. Is she immortal? How does her growth work? It's all very. It's obviously good if I'm asking questions and I want to know what happened with these things. I really didn't like it at first because the barbs they were throwing were super, super vicious, man. I was like, I also didn't like it because Twilight was winning at first. And I was like, I'm sorry, Twilight's smart, and this is about, 300, 400 years, so she's about a 400-year-old. But you're fighting against a 1700-year-old who's seen and done mostly everything in the world. I don't think you'll be winning as easily as you think, or as it is written. But it was a good, look at my own story because, like, I don't really know, like, it seems like a reasonable reaction. Twilight gets her friends, they die. Celestia tells her to make more friends. Twilight gets more friends, they die. She doesn't want to go through that again, so she's like, I'm only just going to rely on Celestia. But she has Cadence. That's why I couldn't completely snap Twilight. That's why I couldn't make her, like, absolutely evil. Because, I don't think she would be. I don't think that's how it would go. Anyways, I don't want to go into my own story. This story was good. I liked it a lot. I liked how it ended. I was kind of iffy at first, but the writer convinced me that it was a good route to go. And it was good. I'd say I think I'm gonna go 4. I think it was great. I think it was a great fic, and it made me want a lot more answers and a lot more world building from it and stuff. I'd like to know their relationship before. I'd like to know how they were together when they were happy. I'd like to know about Twilight's other group of friends. How long were they together? Like, there are so many questions that I would like to know, and unfortunately, I won't get the answer, but I think a great fic makes you want more, and this one did. So, yeah, 4 out of 5 stars.